Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here bringing you guys another vlog. And, playoff basketball has been very, very interesting. The Warriors ended up beating the Houston Rockets. The Knicks ended up beating the Detroit Pistons. The Timberwolves ended up beating the Lakers, which was kind of unexpected. But there's been a lot of decent games on. Boston ended up beating Orlando. The Pacers ended up beating the Bucks. I'm probably forgetting one, but there's been a lot of ball played. All right, and one team I want to talk about specifically is the Golden State Warriors because I was wrong on the Golden State Warriors. I guess I could say I was wrong because I didn't think trading for Jimmy Butler would impact their roster as much as it has. I'm not sure if it's the competitive nature that Jimmy Butler brings to a team, but before the Jimmy Butler trade happened, Jimmy Butler's numbers were not anything really eye-catching, and they're still not. Before being traded to the Warriors, Jimmy Butler was taking about 10 field goal attempts a game, shooting 54% from the field, 36% from three on like 1.5 attempts. He was shooting 80% from the free throw line, averaging about, I'm going to say 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 17 points a game with about 1 steal a game. He was really just this okay player. He wasn't like, I don't know, to me wasn't regarded as the same guy that, took the Miami Heat to the NBA Finals a couple years ago. This is a team that Jimmy Butler was on and really, really made a difference on. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was the guy they kind of built the team around. And this past year, the first 25 games of the season, I was just like, look, it looked like Jimmy Butler had lost a step. Obviously his percentages since going to Golden State are still not good. In fact, they're worse. But Jimmy Butler, since going to the Warriors, is shooting 47% from the field. Now, this is about the same sample size as in Miami. Miami was a 25-game sample for this year. And so far, he's played 30 games for Golden State and started all 30 games. But he's shooting 47% from the field, which is still good for a small forward. It's not horrible. However, he is shooting like 28% from three, which is not good on almost 2.5 attempts a game. He's barely making one. But playoff Jimmy is a thing. He's shooting 87% from the free throw line, averaging about 18 points a game. The defense has gotten a lot better at almost 2 steals a game. It's like 1.7. About 6 assists a game at 5.9 and 5.5 rebounds a game since going to Golden State. Now, while the numbers are not super eye-popping, I will say this: Jimmy Butler is shooting more threes in Golden State. It's one of the higher points of his career when it comes to three-point shooting in the past, I don't know how many years. It's the most threes he's attempted since 2013, 2014. He's shooting 2.3 three-pointers a game, but he's averaging 18 points a game. He's averaging almost 1 more point a game. In the steals, he's averaging almost 1 more steal a game. He's averaging almost 1 more assist. The rebounds are about the same. He's shooting significantly better from the free throw line at 87%. But the place where Jimmy Butler is really making an impact is just simply being on the fucking roster. And I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but Jimmy Butler is a perfect example of, I've said this all the time when it comes to looking at guys like DeAndre Ayton, right? Or even a guy like Thomas Bryant was part of my justification for this, is sometimes just a change in scenery can really change the way a player looks at the game or change the way they play. Suddenly they're out of that toxic situation, right? And they can focus on basketball. That's a real thing, man. Like, even me with playing pool, right? The first team I was a part of was fucking terrible. I was the only player on my team even capable of winning a game. Everybody else on my team, like really only like maybe 2 of them had ever actually played pool before. I was capable of winning games, but the rest of my team wasn't, therefore we weren't winning matches. Then I left that team, ended up joining another team. Suddenly my confidence is better. Suddenly I'm like, okay, we have a real shot to compete. Suddenly I give a shit about what we're playing for, right? Whereas before, I was on a team that was so bad that I was just like, why the fuck should I even try? There's nothing for me individually, you know what I'm saying, other than like, okay, maybe I win an MVP award at the end of the year. If I win the most games, I have the highest win percentage or whatever, or score the most points. But it's just the idea, that was my mindset. And I feel like that's similar to Jimmy Butler's mindset in Miami, right? He wasn't playing for a team that was winning, and we all know Jimmy Butler is a winner. The dude loves to win. Granted, dude has never won an NBA championship before, but he really wants it, right? And you could see that in the teams that he selected that he wanted to go to, like Phoenix, Golden State, right? I forget what the third team was, if there was one, but ever since getting traded to the Warriors, okay, the Warriors ranked 18th in offensive rating, okay, and 10th in defensive rating before the trade. Since he was traded there, they are now ranked 5th in offensive rating and 1st in defensive rating. That's the type of presence that Jimmy Butler brings to a locker room, okay? Like, even if he's not playing well individually, he's very obviously a guy that came in and was able to rally the troops. You know what I'm saying? And that's obviously Draymond Green is a guy that is like kind of the enforcer guy on that roster, right? Like, he's the glue guy for that team. But now they have Jimmy Butler, who is another, I want to say, glue guy until you piss him off, right? Like, Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that, like, everything's good until it isn't. But when it is good, it's going fucking great. And I watched them play the Houston Rockets in their playoff game. And I watched that game and I was like, this team could fucking beat Houston. Like, the Warriors have a legitimate shot to beat the Houston Rockets. Now, granted, Houston had the lowest scoring game of the season for them. They scored, I think, only 85 points in that game. And if you look at the stats from this particular game, all right, the Golden State Warriors scored 95 points. They didn't score a lot of points either because Houston's a good defensive team. But Jimmy Butler had 25 points. He played 42 minutes. At 35 years old, Jimmy Butler played 42 minutes, scored 25 points, had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 10 of 19 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, had 5 steals and 1 turnover in 42 minutes. Like, playoff Jimmy is a real thing. Stephen Curry had 31, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Brandon Podziemski had 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, really, if you think about it, it was the Steph and Jimmy show, and Podziemski was good too against the Houston Rockets. And Alperen Şengün was the best player for that team. Jalen Green, a guy who's supposed to be the number one option on their team, shot 3 of 15 from the field. Tari Eason shot 3 of 10. Dylan Brooks shot 3 of 9. I'm going to be honest, Golden State locked them the fuck down defensively. Now, I will say this, I don't expect Houston to play this bad the rest of the series, okay? It was game 1. They're a young team, okay? They're playing 2 seasoned vets when it comes to the playoffs in Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Obviously, you've got Draymond Green. You've got a lot of guys on that Golden State team that have been here before. And I feel like that could be the reason that Golden State ends up winning the series. Granted, even though Jimmy Butler's individual stats for the regular season don't look very good at all, in fact, they're actually pretty horrendous in some instances. At least the shooting from 3. The 3-point shooting is fucking horrendous. But, okay, having a guy that's been here before, having a guy like Jimmy Butler who historically is known as a playoff riser, right? Having Stephen Curry, who's the greatest shooter in NBA history, and there's an argument to be made that he's the best point guard to ever play the game. That matters. That matters in the playoffs. Having a guy like Stephen Curry, even if you're the Lakers, right? Having a guy like LeBron James, who's been here historically probably more than every other player in NBA history. Having guys like that on your roster matters. And, I think having a guy like Jimmy Butler on your roster, while he might not be great from a statistical standpoint, right? Granted, he's been a lot better defensively. I have to give that to Jimmy Butler. He's been a lot better defensively. He's setting screens. He's being a team player, right? That's the one thing also about Jimmy Butler I was very, very uncertain of. Was, if is he going to go to Golden State and be a team player because of what happened in Miami, right? Because we saw what happened in Miami, and, everybody was looking at that going, the guy's a locker room problem. But he goes to Golden State, he buys into what they're doing. All of a sudden, all the off-court antics are done. All of a sudden, it's purely about basketball. And they went from being, like I said, the 18th ranked offense in the league and the 10th defensive rated team in the league to being the 5th offensive rated team and the 1st defensive rated team. So adding Jimmy Butler to this team has made a real difference. And I'm kind of shocked. Like, if this is the type of presence that Jimmy Butler can provide as a vet, even if his playing days are done, right? Even if his best days of basketball are behind him, if this is the type of energy he can bring to a locker room as just a vet, a guy who doesn't even fucking play, a guy who just sits on the bench like, the Pacers have James Johnson, right? Like, every team has like a couple, like a vet, one or two vets on the team that keep everybody in check. If this is the type of energy that Jimmy Butler can provide for the rest of his career beyond his playing days, right? Even if he were a head coach or, an assistant coach on a team somewhere, this is a valuable asset to have. And in some instances, I actually think Jimmy Butler would be a very good head coach if this is what he can provide to a locker room. Is he going to, fight guys tooth and nail? Absolutely. But I have to be honest, I'm very, very shocked at what he's provided to the Warriors, even if his offensive statistics aren't great, and even if in some instances and in a lot of instances are actually worse efficiency-wise with Golden State than they were with Miami, what he has provided to this team from just a team standpoint as a guy coming in, even just having a guy like Jimmy Butler in practice, right? A guy that you can battle who is a good defender in practice and go one-on-one with him. You look at guys like Brandon Pajemski, right? And some of the other guys on this roster. You have, you have Brandon Pajemski, you have Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, right? Quentin Post. Having guys on that roster, Buddy Hield even, right? Having guys on this team that can have Jimmy Butler in practice to make them better players is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be honest, man. If I was Jimmy Butler, I'd be getting on Buddy Hield's ass about defense. I mean, like, I would be making his life a living hell in practice until this dude at least gets better at playing defense. Because Jimmy Butler has not been Buddy Hield has not had an astounding year for the Golden State Warriors. He's been shooting 37% from three, scoring 11 points per game. He actually played 82 games this year. 82% from the free throw line is, not the greatest, but he's shooting 41% from the field. When you look at a guy like Buddy Hield, right? He's a guy that, started off the season hot, pre-All-Star break. He went off for like the first 3 weeks of the season and then really cooled off. I don't know what the deal is. I have a minor feeling that Buddy Hield will not be a Golden State Warrior next year. I don't know. We'll see. But having a guy like Jimmy Butler around to help guys like Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski and all these other guys, I think is a really big deal, especially guys like Jonathan Kuminga, right, who is a young up-and-coming dude. Moses Moody is another young and up-and-coming dude. Brandon Pajemski is a young and upcoming dude. Trace Jackson Davis, another young dude. Guy Santos, another 6'8" power forward dude from Brazil. He's another young dude. Jackson Rowe, young dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, just having this dude in your locker room who's like, yo, like, this is how you have to do shit, it's showing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's so mind-blowing to me. It's like Jimmy Butler's stats really aren't that great. You know what I'm saying? Like, his field goal percentage, okay, he's shooting all right from the field. The three-point percentage is fucking horrendous. But defensively, and what he's bringing to the locker room and showing these young guys, specifically Guy Santos, right? Like, it's very obvious Jimmy Butler is taking some of these young dudes under his wing and is like, listen, this is how you do this. This is how you play defense in this situation. Listen, when Steph Curry comes off this screen, you have to step up and do this and do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's such a valuable thing to have in the locker room. And yeah, they're paying Jimmy Butler way more than he's worth, if I'm being honest with you. The dude is not worth what he's getting paid. I think he's getting paid in the ballpark of like 50. I think he signed like an extension for 2 years or something worth like $50 million a year. What's his contract look like? He's making $54 million next year and then $56 million a year the year after that. It's a lot of bread to pay, but it's just the idea, what he's bringing to this locker room long term, I feel like is just kind of invaluable. Yeah, you're paying him $54 million this upcoming year and then almost $57 million the year after that. But to have a guy like that in your locker room who is going to bring it in practice every day and, get on those young guys about, stepping up on defense and being a fucking man on defense, that has really, really helped the Warriors. And I don't think the change shows more drastic than a team going from like one of the more bottom of the pack teams in the league on offense and just being an okay team on defense to being the best defensive team in the league and top 5 in offense since you traded for him. So whatever Jimmy Butler's doing in Golden State, it's working, and I think it's actually going to be enough, especially if he continues playing the way he played in Game 1 against Houston. I don't know if that's going to continue, but like I said, historically, Jimmy Butler's a playoff riser. The idea that the dude played 42 minutes and put up 25 points and had, 7 rebounds and 6 assists and 5 steals, and only, 1 turnover in 42 minutes, got to give him some credit. I got to give him some credit. This move ended up being a bigger deal for Golden State than I thought it would be. I saw this trade, or I think we all saw this trade, and we're like, okay, he's going to Golden State. We'll see what happens. Then they gave him the extension, and everybody was like, yeah, that extension's pretty fucking bonkers. That extension is absolutely insane for a 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, but, okay, it's paying dividends. So do I think it will continue to pay dividends? I do not know. But, okay, just having him in your locker room has clearly been enough to really, really impact your roster. So I don't know how much I really buy into the idea that Jimmy Butler is a bad locker room guy. I think Jimmy Butler takes winning very seriously. I feel like he's a bit of a culture shock in some ways, as he clearly was in Golden State. Like, he came into the locker room and was like, listen, this is Steph's team. This is Draymond's team. I'm coming in, and I'm just going to add to that, right? I feel like that's what Jimmy Butler had planned to do, and it's worked incredibly well. I think Jimmy Butler being the lead voice in a locker room is not suited for him. But if he's a guy that can go into a place and be like the second or third best player and come in and just follow someone else's lead, understand how the culture is, and then just add to that, I think he's a great player in that sense. At least until things go wrong. Until Jimmy Butler doesn't get what he wants. But for now, okay, everything appears to be going very well in Golden State, and they're a team that I actually think could beat Houston in six or 7 games if Jimmy Butler continues to play this way. And this team continues to buy into what's going on, because that first game against Houston, kind of ugly for Houston. Do I think that's going to continue this series? No, I don't think so. But talk about a statement game in Game 1. Golden State came out and really, kind of put their foot on Houston's neck and said, get up off the fucking ground. And they couldn't do it. We're going to learn a lot about Houston as well in this series. We're going to learn a lot about Jalen Green specifically. We're going to learn a lot about Tari Eason. Alperen Şengün, who I thought was very good in this game, was one of the only good players in this game. Houston's got some dogs on their roster, but this game wasn't very good for them. So hopefully Houston can come out and provide a more competitive experience in game 2? I'm assuming that they will. Usually, even with the Pacers series, okay? Usually first game blowouts like this, game 2 is a lot more competitive. Because then guys come out with some purpose, okay? Like some teams really need to get their ass kicked in game 1 to come out in game 2 and realize like the team they're playing against is not fucking around. So, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.